Bias 2. Opinion X. Captivating curiosity.
2020 has seen Australia thrown into a global pandemic and the dangerous realities of climate change. In a period of uncertainty where the definition of normal has been completely uprooted, we speak to one of the industry's most influential people. Sitting in the middle of the insurance industry and leading the National Insurance Brokers Association, Dallas Booth breaks down his take on the last 2 years of the industry, its regulatory changes, and what's next.
So before the summer, the insurance markets were heading towards what's called a hard market, which means insurers are wanting to increase prices and restrict terms and conditions, primarily because for the last 3 or 4 years, there's been the levels of profitability in some lines has actually been negative, and so they're wanting to restore their position and to restore viability in some cases of some of the lines of business. So it was a difficult insurance market before summer, and the market itself is getting even harder, as what the brokers call a hard market, and that is each risk is being assessed very carefully by the insurance companies. So the brokers are having a very hard time at the moment taking their risks to market and representing their clients' interests when they take the risks to the underwriters. So the market itself is difficult. So we've had storms, hail and fire, 288,000 claims totaling relating to those disasters, relating to those major weather events, 5.2 billion in claims costs coming out of those weather events. So that adds a cost burden to the industry well above what is normally provided for. So in due course, there will no doubt be an attempt to recover that from future premiums at some point. And so the impact of the fires, the immediate impact is not clear, but what we are waiting to see is whether insurers take a more restrictive underwriting approach. The fires were far more extensive than anybody would ever have imagined, and that's been a real issue. And I think that will cause people to think twice about the future. The COVID impact is the impact on the economy, and the fact that so many businesses had to shut down, go into hibernation. Some remain operating at a very low level. Some of the cafes just take away coffee. But we've had a period, certainly April, May, probably 2.5 months of very little trading. And then there are some sectors where trading is going to continue to be very low. So tourism is a classic, the arts, entertainment, some areas there, some restaurants back to a degree, but not to full trading, and other places. So it's more of a case of what's the level of economic activity that's happening, what businesses are in business, and to what extent are they in business, and ultimately what insurance do they need, and what insurance can they afford to buy in the new trading environment. And that's going to be a very interesting situation where you've got insurance companies trying to increase the prices, and you've got the economic conditions making it difficult for business owners to pay a higher price, and so therefore they might be cutting back on the level of cover that they buy, or they'll buy certain elements of cover but not other elements of cover. So this is going to be the challenge probably for the next 6 months as businesses come up to renew their insurance. We represent the insurance brokers. The Insurance Council of Australia represents the insurance companies. Treasury asks good questions, and I think they've got a reasonably good understanding of the insurance process and the importance of the insurance process and the role that it plays in protecting communities and ultimately supplying security into the communities. We are grateful for the fact that when Treasury sees something odd happening at the government level, they ring us and they say, we're seeing something, what's going on, and they actually consult with us, and they've actually done that 5 or 6 times over the last few weeks. And the other thing we often point out is to question the cost benefit of some things, and often there are some things which are a regulatory burden but potentially offering very little benefit, and we try and point those out to the government as well. Look, I think that overwhelmingly the insurance industry has done a very good job. There were a couple of examples that were mentioned in the Royal Commission of apparent poor conduct by insurance companies. In a couple of cases, those issues had already been fixed before the Royal Commission even started. And the classic example of that was this thing called add-on insurance, which is insurance products sold through motor dealers and other places. Now, ASIC had expressed concerns about that well before the Royal Commission started. The insurance industry worked with ASIC and developed a response to fix the problem. So it had already been fixed. It didn't need further action on behalf of, actually, we were surprised that the Royal Commission even looked into the area. But the point is that overwhelmingly, the insurance industry has been serving the Australian community. It is massively profitable. Sorry, I beg your pardon. It is massively competitive, because there are no examples of super profits. If you read the APRA statistics and the APRA data on the profitability of the Australian insurance industry, and in fact, the most recent APRA data, which is for the March quarter 2020, shows that they took a massive hit to their profitability and to their overall level of financial standing because of the summer claims. So there's no super profits in insurance, and they serve the community. Now, Townsville floods 12 months ago. I think it's around $2.6 billion is being funded into that community by the insurance industry. The fires and the floods and the hail, again, another $5.2 billion is being funded. There are provisions in the Corporations Act in Chapter 7 which relates to financial services. There are provisions in there where it's very difficult to understand what the obligation is, and when that happens in a practical sense, and when that happens, the lawyers can't give advice to the client, which is the insurance company or the bank or the finance company. You can't, the lawyers find it hard to tell their client how they have to comply with the law. ASIC has trouble trying to work out, has there been a breach of the law or not? And then if it goes to court, the court then has trouble to determine, to make a ruling as to has there been a breach of the law or not. And it just becomes far too complex and complicated. And that's why there's an overarching recommendation from Justice Hayne that to actually simplify the law and make the obligations and the expectations far clearer, so that you will know whether you are complying with the law or not. Our worry is that that might not be happening in the legislation that the government is preparing at the moment, and so I'm being a little bit controversial there, but we want to make sure that the law is simpler and is clearer and provides genuine benefits to policyholders and the broader community, and that will meet the objectives of the Royal Commission.